Hey, how's it going YouTube? I'm your host for today, Landon Dalitzing, and welcome back to another most amazing top 10 video. If you guys love hearing urban legends, you guys should definitely watch our urban legends playlist right over here. And I wouldn't really recommend watching these videos by yourself or at nighttime because it's gonna freak you out, just like it freaks me out every time I have to research these videos for you guys. It's fun, but it's pretty damn scary. Okay, so today we're gonna lock ourselves behind bars and hear about creepy urban legends from prisons all over the world. As if prisons weren't scary enough. So let's jump right into this one. This is the top 10 scary prison urban legends. Haunting us in at number 10, we have Idaho's scariest ghost. Raymond Allen Snowden used to be referred to as Idaho's Jack the Ripper because he brutally slayed a woman while he was out on a date with her, and he showed absolutely no remorse. He slashed her throat and stabbed her skull, severing her spinal cord. If that wasn't brutal enough, the corpse also had 30 stab wounds all over her body. He even bragged about murdering her while he was locked up. He was sentenced to death by hanging, but when it came time for his execution, his neck didn't snap properly and he spent 15 minutes gasping for air before he finally died. According to this urban legend, if you visit Idaho State Penitentiary, you can hear someone gasping for air, and strange things have occurred at this prison that no one is able to explain. Seems like this prison needs some sage or holy water, get rid of this ghost. Private prisons use third grade test scores to plan for prison beds, and this makes it onto our list at number 9. There is an urban legend that says that the government uses third grade test scores to determine future number of prison beds that will be needed. So basically they believe that there is a correlation with low test scores at this age and the likelihood that they will go to prison. This is actually an urban legend that has been circulating for a long time, and a lot of people think that it is true. Well, I'm here to clear the air that this is only an urban legend. They actually use 4th grader test scores, not 3rd graders. Okay, all jokes aside, I bet they use a very similar strategy to actually predict how many people will be sent to prison each year. It's actually scary to think about it, so let's move on. I don't want to know if someone thinks I'm going to prison. Things get pretty intense in at number 8. We have this urban legend of Lavinia Fisher. According to this legend, she is known as America's first female serial killer. Lavinia and her husband ran a bed and breakfast just north of Charleston, and this is where a lot of travelers would stop into to get some rest. Little did they know that Lavinia would serve poisoned tea to her victims in order to rob them of their possessions. She would lure wealthy men into a room and serve them this poisoned tea. She would suggest that they would get some rest on a particular bed that had a trapdoor beneath it. When the victim would pass out, she pulled a lever, causing their bodies to just fall into the pit below the house. One night a man stopped at this bed and breakfast for some rest, and he was invited to have some tea. He really didn't like the tea, but he was too polite to refuse. When Lavia wasn't looking, he dumped his tea in the plant next to him, so she thought he drank it. He felt that she was acting strange, so he decided to leave and go back to his room. Lavinia thought he drank the poisoned tea, so when she went into his room to rob him and drop his body into the pit, he was stunned to learn what her real motives were. He was able to escape and report the whole thing. The Fishers were executed in 1820, and according to the local legend, her spirit haunts the Charleston jail where she was hanged. Things get even more spooky in at number 7 with the Montana Territorial Prison. This was a prison that was operational in the late 1800s. However, due to lack of funding and exceeding capacity, the prison quickly became overcrowded and violent. The prisoners were basically starving to death, and they were crammed into small spaces that they began to show extreme violent behaviors. A lot of the prisoners committed suicide and even killed each other. Because the prison was so underfunded, it remained in a dirty and rundown state for over a century until a massive riot broke out and the prisoners took control for a whole day in 1959. The prison was shut down in 1976, but visitors claim that they have heard voices, footsteps, and scary sounds lurking through the abandoned halls. Some people even say that they can feel ghosts touching them, or there have been ghosts pushing people. Apparently you can also feel a sense of impending doom, and you feel like you're always going to be attacked. fact? Well, if I were to ever plan a trip to Idaho, I don't think I'm going to this prison for any tour anytime soon. I think I would rather spend my time eating Idaho potatoes instead of being attacked by scary prison ghosts. But that's just me. Moving into number 6, we're talking about Cripple Creek Jail. I mean, whoa, with a name like that, no wonder this prison is haunted and has a creepy urban legend. If I was a ghost, that would be a prison I would want to haunt. But seriously, who's in charge of naming this building? This poorly named jailhouse was opened in 1901, and it was in operation for almost 100 years. Only one prisoner was known to die within the jail walls after he fell from a second-floor catwalk. After his death, there have been strange paranormal activities that no one can explain. People have heard heavy footsteps going up and down the wooden staircase. There is a ghost child who can always be seen roaming the hallways looking for her parents, but the scariest urban legend is about the dead prisoner's cell. It is reported that if you walk past this cell, you can feel a hand reach out and grab you. Some people have even said that they felt their hair being pulled and they felt someone breathing heavily on their necks. And now at number 5, we have the Wyoming Territorial Prison. This one is pretty creepy. This prison is known to be a hotspot for paranormal and unexplained occurrences. During its 80-year run, the prison housed some of the most violent and sadistic criminals who ever walked the planet. One of them was a very young inmate named Andrew Pickley, who was a child serial killer and cannibal who was executed in the 1960s. After it was closed, the prison became a huge tourist attraction because there are mainly ghost urban legends that surround this prison. Lots of people claim that they can hear Andrew's creepy voice screaming about wanting to eat human flesh and how he wants to mutilate your body. Some other visitors also claimed that they feel cold spots and a spooky feeling that something bad is gonna happen. The Russian sleep experiment comes onto our list at number 4. Alright guys, prepare yourselves because this urban legend is pretty brutal. Let me take you guys back to the 1940s, where Russian researchers wanted to conduct an experiment. They wanted to see what the effects were if you deprived yourself of sleep. Why? I'm not sure, but due to ethical reasons, they didn't want to pick any volunteers off the street. They decided to force 5 prisoners to participate in this experiment. Yeah, that's so ethical. The prisoners were given an experimental gas that would prevent them from sleeping. Their conversations were recorded and monitored through video cameras and a two-way mirror. This is just so mean. Well, for the first few days, everything was fine. The prisoners were behaving normally, but on the 5th day, things got really bad. The prisoners became paranoid and started whispering about each other in the microphones. Eventually, the prisoners were running around, screaming, and almost breaking their vocal cords. On the 5th day, the experimenters decided to put in fresh air instead of harmful gas, but that just made things even worse. One prisoner died, and the other severely mutilated their bodies. They tore off their flesh, ripped out their abdomen, and muscles as well. When the researchers came to remove them from the room, the prisoners refused, and they wanted to be locked up forever. Eventually, all of the prisoners were shot and killed because they wanted to cover up this highly unethical experiment. Now, many people claim that this is only an urban legend and shouldn't be taken seriously, but I think there's a chance of it being real. I mean, there are so many experiments that humans have done in the past that would be totally illegal today, which is why people want to keep it hidden. Shepton Mallet Prison brings us to number 3. This prison has some pretty intense people locked up behind bars. People such as child killers, rapists, and gangsters wreaked havoc here until they were either executed or their prison shut down. There was a ton of murders and suicides that happened here, and this is why this prison is known to have a lot of angry and vengeful ghosts. This urban legend says that if you visit this old haunted prison, an old prison ghost will follow you home and haunt you for the rest of your life. So yeah, I don't think I'd be willing to take that risk. Imagine if the child killer followed you home. I mean, no thanks. I think this prison should be burned to the ground, or at least have a priest bless this prison. Our next prison urban legend brings us to the Eastern State Penitentiary, and this takes us to number 2. This prison was one of the most expensive buildings built in the US, and it was going to be used as a prototype to build 300 other prisons. The facility was operated by a corrupt company who opened up the prison doors to people who wanted to lock themselves up in order to find God. These people might have been under the impression that they're gonna find God, but they were literally placed in hell. They had to live in complete solitude and silence, and if they broke any of the rules, they would have to face severe punishments, such as the mad chair, where they would be strapped so tightly to a chair it was impossible for them to move. They would sit there for days without food, and eventually they would go insane. So apart from the prison being a nightmare, there's an urban legend about a locksmith who was doing some repairs on cell block number 4. He was hired to remove a very old lock from the cell door, but as he was working, he felt a massive force overcome him where he had an outer body experience. He said that this lock is the gateway to some place evil, and anyone who dares remove it will experience terrible things. To this day, that lock remains there because people are absolutely terrified of the consequences. The infamous Alcatraz prison scares us in at number 1. This is recognized as the most notorious prison in the entire world. I actually visited the prison a few years back, and it's pretty scary, and you can definitely sense evil within the prison walls. Although the prison has a lot of paranormal activity and a ton of urban legends, I want to talk about cell 14D. This cell was used to brutally punish prisoners who got out of line. The prisoners would be kept in the small cell with a toilet, sink, there'd be only one light bulb on, and a mattress that was only given to them at nighttime. There were several of these punishment cells, but cell 14D had very active spirits. People who visited this cell reported a raw coldness, and they feel a sudden evil force. Prisoners locked in cell 14D screamed throughout the night, and they have all said that they saw a creature with glowing red eyes. One prisoner who screamed that he was being killed by this demon ghost, well, he was actually found the next morning strangled to death, and he also had unexplainable marks all over his body. The prison guards are claiming that this is only an urban legend, but what if it's just a big cover-up for the way the prison guards mistreated their inmates? Maybe a prison guard killed this prisoner and made up this entire urban legend. Well, there you guys have it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys on the next one.